of dope discourse. Of course, your ex. I like to say Rob, dedicated with the dedication plaque right behind me. So all of you imagination connoisseurs, all of you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity, we now have a starship. Amazing. Thanks to Joe. Dedication plaque. I have an interesting show tonight, or today, however you're watching me. I know for some of you it's tonight. I found an interesting article on Medium that I want to read all about Hollywood and where we're at, what's going to happen. I'm also doing an interview later today, which you'll see. I guess the interview bug has not only hit me, but there are people that are letting me interview them. And this one, I've got a big heavy hitter interview coming up, so that's going to be interesting for me. Not in this show. I'm doing it later, and I'll drop it on the show later. I haven't quite got to the point where I will do interviews live yet. We'll get there. I want to sort of get a bunch of interviews under my belt, maybe like 20. And if I can get there, then maybe we'll do interviews live. It'll be interesting. I'll have to see how it goes. Well, anyway, this is Robservations episode number 403. It's Friday, thank God. Wow, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be here tomorrow, but I need a pizza and I need some beer, to be honest. That's what I need. It's been a stressful week. It's been a stressful month. I mean, doing all these interviews, getting show 400 prep, doing shows during the day, finishing the Hills Run Red Blu-ray, which is amazing. And by the way, I would be remiss if I did not remind all of you that the Robservations 400 giveaway that goes on now through May 15th, my birthday, for the almost $1,000 brand new JBL 9 bar. It's called the JBL Bar 9.1. It is a Dolby Atmos equipped soundbar with 9 speakers. Actually, if you include the subwoofer, it's 10 speakers. And this is what it looks like. And right down in the description of this very chat that you are watching right now, you can find a link. And if you want to be entered into the drawing, no purchase necessary. You just go to follow the link, go through the widget. You can go anywhere. You can go to our website. You can go to the Whining About Movies page. You can go anywhere. That's all you have to do. Put your email in and go into some part of the Burnettwork realm. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be able to enter. Enter as many times as you like. You can sit there all day long and do it if that's what you want. I mean, I have to tell you, this piece of gear is really pretty cool. So anyway, we're giving that away. As I said, we're giving it away on May 15th, my birthday. We're going to pick a winner. I'm also wearing, I have to say, our own The Richard. I'm wearing one of his shirts. I dipped into one of his shirts, and he had a shirt for The Crow, which is obviously one of my favorite comic book adaptations of all time. And there was a tag on this shirt for the Richard's art. And the Richard is obviously a very vibrant member of the Post-Geek Singularity community. And if you go to, at Facebook, you can find him at The Richards, as in plural, no apostrophe, The Richards Art, or you can contact him at DJ the 13 at gmail.com. And I really like this shirt. It's nice, feels good, looks good. I'm a big fan of The Crow, so hey, why not? Can't rain all the time. Am I right? Ladies and gentlemen, before I jump into our main topic, I got to talk about Quibi. Quibi, probably the most unexciting streaming service ever. Now, as many of you know, I don't have a problem with Quibi. I want Quibi to succeed. Anybody who's making programming, I want that to succeed. But basically what Quibi has done for their live action scripted programming, whether you're going to watch Sansa Stark in the wastes, the wintry wasteland to try and survive, basically what they've done is they've taken a movie and chopped a movie up into chunks, into Quibis, which is I guess a between 4 and 10 minute chunk of time is a Quibi. And they've made software so you can either watch it this way or this way, depending on how that's going to go. Why you'd want to do that, I'm not really sure. I'm not really and they didn't make it available on any other devices except your phone, which seems rather counterintuitive. I find the whole concept of Quibi, that you're going to make these bite-sized chunks that you can watch on your phone, I think the whole thing is kind of absurd, and I think it's not that it's wrong. I mean, if you think it and you think it's going to succeed, try it out. But I think you're not paying attention to what things have been going on in the YouTube space and stuff like that. I just found the whole thing absurd, and it seemed to me that it was being driven by people. Obviously, Jeffrey Katzenberg is one of the impresarios of this thing, and I feel that that kind of thinking was wrong. Well, Jeffrey Katzenberg has done an interview with Bill McCuddy from Gold Derby, which you predict Hollywood races. And he did it yesterday, and I wanted to share it with you because I think it was interesting. I find this fascinating. So here it is, and I'm going to read it. Just weeks after Quibi's 1.8 billion with a B launch, CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg admits 100% regret about his phone-only platform. Timing was everything. Now he says Quibi will offer a TV option. It also might be up for traditional awards like Emmys and Critics' Choice in certain categories. Movies and Oscars, not so much. And don't ask him to produce next year's show. In a candid phone call, the former DreamWorks co-founder talks hiccups and successes in his new venture. Now he says Quibi will offer a TV option? It's astonishing to me. It is astonishing to me that somebody who is as smart as Jeffrey Katzenberg is, who has such a great track record, cannot see the forest through the trees. Now, I don't mean to be critical of the man. I would certainly love to have been in business with the man at any part of my last 30 years of a career in the entertainment business. But anybody should tell you that if you're going to launch a platform and you're going to make it phone only, if you're creating scripted programming where you expect everybody to, I've got to binge watch. I mean, on one hand, here's another thing. So they've made like a 10-part series that you binge watch in 4 to 10 minute chunks. First of all, I can't imagine something more annoying than that. But second of all, you can only watch it on your phone. And third, that means you're only watching it on the go. On the go. Who wants to watch well-produced scripted programming as they're walking or taking the subway, or maybe you've got your phone in your car and you're listening to it through your sound system? So by definition, you're not even focused enough to concentrate on what it is they've made for you to watch. I mean, it's one thing to watch a 1 minute or 2 minute, but to watch a cat video, but to watch scripted program. I'm just like, who thought of this? How do you model this and go down the road and raise billions of? I know Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg. They are obviously have a track record and they raised all of this money. But I found the whole thing from the very beginning wrong-headed, and it's amazing. Weeks after their launch, after the initial interest in it waned, they decide, oh, we made a mistake. We launched this during a pandemic, and now we don't have an option. When people are sequestered at home, the whole point is that, hey, you can watch this on the go. Well, their entire premise was thwarted by the pandemic, and they didn't pivot. They didn't zig or zag, like the defenders are coming at them. They need to get into the end zone. But no, now they're like thinking about, I made a mistake. How did you make this mistake? How did you not know? Anyway, let me go on, and I'm going to read this. Gold Derby. What have you learned since you launched? Jeffrey Katzenberg. We've learned a whole lot, but at the top of the list, people are loving movies and chapters. People are coming back every day. The completion rate, in other words, is you start something and go all the way and finish it. It's extremely high. And that's true across the entire Quibi platform. Of course, when you're not going anywhere and they've made a 2-hour program that's been split into chunks, you're going to sit down and watch it because you want to watch the whole thing like you'd watch a movie. And that's true across the entire Quibi platform. It's as high as any platform anywhere. It may be the highest. Bigly. He didn't say bigly. I'm just putting that in. That's great because people are wanting to stay with these stories. Yes. So why didn't you just make movies? Have an exclusive deal with Netflix and use all that $1 billion of capital you raised, hire all the Hollywood talent you know, and make some good movies. Why did you make a 2-hour movie, then break it into chunks? Gold Derby. So to be clear, consumers have a better chance of finishing a Quibi movie than one on Netflix? Jeffrey Katzenberg. I don't want to compare because it's kind of like comparing apples to submarines, in that a commitment to watch a Quibi show or an episode is 6 to 8 minutes, and a series is 2 hours. And to watch a Netflix series, I'm in the middle of Ozark right now, that's 10 hours. And theirs is about watching on a TV set, and ours is about watching on a phone. Why is yours about watching on a phone? Why did you make scripted content who thought it was a good idea to watch scripted content that you're spending lots of money on a phone? Who came up with this idea? Did you hear about this from your daughter 12 or 20 years ago and think, oh, that's a good idea, and now it took you this long to get there? Bruh. Come on, man. Anyway, you decided to make a movie and break it up into 10 parts, into 10-minute chunks. Anyway. Gold Derby. So you have no regret about launching in the middle of a pandemic with people unable to watch your content on TV. Jeffrey Katzenberg. I have 100% regret about it. The good news about being a startup and being entrepreneurial is that when your customer talks to you, if not shouts at you, you must listen. And so we will launch in less than 2 weeks an update for the app that will let people watch Quibi on their TV set. That's something we didn't anticipate. Then why did anybody give you $1 billion fucking dollars, dude? What world do you live in? It's unbelievable to me that I'm watching this and I'm like, I would have loved to have carved out $2 million of that billion, and I could have made you a good movie that we could have put on Netflix, maybe released theatrically. And I'm reading this and I'm like, what? Where did they figure? I'm sorry. It's incredible to me. Well, we're putting out an app because now you can watch it on TV. Next, you're going to do away with your chunks. When people are going to say, our customer base, well, they talk to us and they're like, we don't want to watch 4 to 10 minute chunks. We want to watch 2 hours talk. It's unbelievable. That's do you does? Nobody does. Not even kids. Not unless it's a TikTok video. You do not want to watch long form content broken up into 4 to 10 minute segments that only equal a 2 hour movie. You don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. It's absurd. Anyway, and obviously we didn't realize the world would be sheltered in place, literally. If that's what the customer wants, it's our job to give it to them. Why did you give them Quibi? What customer told you that we wanted Quibi? I want Quibi. Please give me great narrative content in 4 to 10 minute chunks. Gold Derby. Are the rules changing for Oscar consideration? Could a Quibi film ever win an Oscar? Well, I don't think we'll get theatrical releases. Well, they don't have to. Right, but we designed and shot to look good on your phone with no other content, which no other content today does. I love this. We designed and shot so this would look good on your phone. How does anything look good on your phone? We have 4K cameras, 8K cameras, and you can't even tell on a phone how great the image is. So it doesn't matter how we shot it to look good on your phone. I shot things to look good on my phone 15 years ago. I mean, come on, man. I mean, even YouTube videos haven't, you can go full screen. Bing. It's just, come on. Different. It's just different. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. No, it means it's worse. It's worse. How about Golden Globes, Emmys, and Critics' Choice for television? I think we'll be eligible for TV categories. But those are things people do to you. You don't get to decide. We certainly are going to be supportive of our filmmakers and storytellers, and anywhere that people want to celebrate their work, we're going to lean in and we're going to support them. You know what? The 50 States of Fright, or whatever it is, Sam Raimi's thing. Wouldn't you have loved to see that as, like, I don't know, an hour-long program or a half-an-hour program, however long one of those episodes is? Or maybe they're only just 4 to 10 minutes. I don't know. I haven't watched it, nor will I ever be watching it until they take it off Quibi and put it on Netflix, because I'm not going to get Quibi. You mentioned we're all going back to theaters. Where do you stand on the AMC Universal dust-up? I don't want to offer an opinion on something I'm not up to speed on, but I will say we, at some point, will be going back. It's not a question of if we're going back to movies, it's when. Going to movie theaters is a great experience, and there's nothing like being surrounded by a couple of hundred people and watching either a comedy or a thriller or a scary movie. That reaction is contagious and communal, and the best way to see it, right? Comedy is best as a shared experience. Laughter makes other people laugh, and we will go back to sports. We will go back to concerts. There will be a vaccine. There's no ifs in any of these things. There are certainties. The question is when. But I'm not a doctor. I'm an entertainer. I don't know when. You know what people aren't going to go back to? They're not going to go back to Quibi. They're not. I mean, look, maybe I'll be wrong, and I'll be happy to be wrong because Quibi is another place where you can sell your product, and people will work, and I love the fact that people are getting paid, and they're getting paid to make things, but I wouldn't want to work on, this platform, I just can't see it working. Maybe it will. Maybe somebody will have some breakout Quibi cooking show. Great souffles you can make in 4 to 10 minutes. I mean, who knows? A great date dinner you can cook in your dorm room from 4 to 8 minutes with ramen. I don't know. In the space of a Quibi, you can make your significant other admire your cooking skills. I have no idea. I know they've got these things on. You're a producer. Circling back to the Oscars, if you were producing next year's show, what would you do differently? Jeffrey Katzenberg says, I've been out of that business for too long. My finger's not on the pulse of that world today. Your finger's not on any pulse, Jeff. Quibi is not something the world was waiting for. It would be better if you used that billions of dollars and you went back in and you shot the last 8 episodes of Game of Thrones. Then I would watch, or 6 episodes, the 8th season. Then I would watch that on Quibi. I mean, Gold Derby, are you talking to Quibi talent these days? Absolutely. How are they doing? They're great. I mean, they loved making the content, and now seeing it on the platform, they're thrilled. I've talked with Liam Hemsworth, Christoph Waltz, Chrissy Teigen, Chance the Rapper, Sophie Turner, Anna Kendrick, and the beauty of the platform is we have so many great people making content. Chris Paul has a new show coming out in 2 weeks, and Reno 911 Gang are coming back next week. Frankly, everybody made great content. Hollywood showed up and made for me and this platform stuff that's really, really strong. And the people who've downloaded the app and watch it, they're the ones who matter, and they're voting with their time. And they're spending more time watching more content than we thought they were going to. Now, that's going to change when we get back out of our homes again. We don't know, but we're pretty optimistic. Why would that change? Wasn't your platform designed for people on the go? I mean, of course they're watching it now during a pandemic, but wouldn't that mean, according to your platform, that once people are not sheltering at home, they'd be watching it on the go, as Quibi was designed to do? Gold Derby. Do you have Bill Murray's 800 number? Jeffrey Katzenberg. I don't know. I don't know where to send a smoke signal. I don't, but I know where to send a smoke signal when I need him. Okay, well that's what Jeffrey Katzenberg had to say about Quibi. Now, I am the chancellor of cheerfulness, and I really like people's endeavors. I don't want to yuck on anyone's yum, but I think this whole idea was stupid. And I think that Quibi was dumb, and I hate the idea is that they raised $1.8 billion. Do you know why everybody's happy with their content? They got paid. They got paid. That's why they're happy. Anybody wants to pay me, I'm happy. I'll make what you want. I'll try and make it as good as I can make it. If you're going to pay me, nothing wrong with work done. I don't have a problem with that. And as somebody who's not watched any Quibi, I can't speak to the quality of the material. But man, I don't know, maybe I'm an old, middle-class, cis white male that has no idea what he's talking about. But as somebody who tries to keep his finger on the pulse of the entertainment business, who somebody spends his days following the business, I can't see this succeeding. Hey, maybe it will. And Godspeed, Jeff Katzenberg. I hope Quibi works for you. I really, really do. Prove me wrong. I would love nothing more than come back here in 6 months and go, you know what? I was kind of a douche when it came to my thoughts on Quibi. And I'm a douche. And I will admit, I will come back if Quibi becomes the bang-up success I know they all think it could be, then I will eat my words on this show. As a matter of fact, I will download the Quibi app and I will pay for it live on this channel in 6 months if Quibi is still turning out fine content. We shall see. Now, yesterday I read this really interesting article. It's long. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing, but it's really long, and I thought it was fascinating, and I'm going to share it with you. And that article is by Richard James, and it was on Medium. It was on Medium yesterday, published yesterday. Prepare for the death and rebirth of Hollywood. I mean, come on, how could I not read that, right? So here we go. Production, exhibition, and good old-fashioned power are all being violently uprooted in Tinseltown, and where we land in 12 months from now is going to look very different from the last 20 years. Cue creepy music and slow track into a crystal ball. Power. Well before the pandemic, there was a shift happening. In the 1980s, super agent Michael Ovitz positioned his talent agency CAA as one of the most important chess pieces on the board, controlling actors, scripts, producers, how studios were bought and sold, music rights, all the way through to sports contracts. Agents held the power. But today, the world of agenting is very different, and a major power shift is underway. First, most of the big agencies have sold out to major hedge funds, where their first responsibility is to review to revenue and profits, which means yearly growth at all costs. This need to feed the engine has forced agencies to dig their tentacles deeper and deeper into the entertainment community, eking out every possible penny. Spreading tentacles isn't new. Just read When Hollywood Had a King to see how Lew Wasserman came up against the U.S. government in 1962 as he tightened his powerful grip over all things entertainment. In Lew's case, the U.S. government stepped in, forcing him to choose between being an agent or running what is now Comcast NBC Universal. He chose Universal. Today, it's not one single thing that's cutting off agencies' far-reaching tentacles, but a storm on many fronts that is leaving most agencies with very little space to move. The result? Massive damage that will likely take years to rebuild, leaving space for others to fill the void. For one, the Writers Guild of Americas has been standing firm. The Writers Guild of Americas has been standing firm that agents not be able to produce or finance movies. This is essentially exactly what Lew came up against in 1962. This strange practice of your agency, who negotiates your deal, also being your employer, has been going on behind closed doors for a long time. But in recent years, the agenting world got more brazen about including it in their business model to look more attractive to their new Wall Street owners. This backfired, with the Writers Guild seizing the opportunity to win back a little more power into the hands of the writers and their membership, agreed to a strike in April 2019. Top Hollywood writers fired their agents, and in doing so, a key piece of Hollywood power was taken away from the agents. 360-degree packaging, the process whereby agents package their writer, director, producer, and acting clients together so that a studio buys a package and the agency can charge a premium packaging fee, which some argue incentivizes them to keep clients' fees lower so they can make room for their own fees. If this were all the agencies faced, they could overcome this hurdle and still reign supreme. Historically, agents were masters of their craft in coming up with complex structures for their top clients' ownership, profit participation, merchandise, box office bonuses, etc. Needless to say, studios were also masters in creative accounting, working to keep as much money in their accounts and away from the talent's bank account as possible. But the game was there, a game of give and take, all pinned to the public data around international sales and box office. Playing this game helped agents look powerful and valuable to their clients, so they remain signed to a 10%er. But then came Netflix and the likes. Global distribution, hidden streaming numbers, and clear data-driven decisions versus booking talent based on industry heat. Now agents have many of their bargaining chips taken off the table, and their creative deal-making tools are a shadow of what they once were. How much extra value do agents now offer compared to lawyers and managers? At the same time, At the same time, agencies have pushed hard into new entertainment revenue streams. The biggest, live events for their music artists, the last remaining cash cows for a music industry decimated by streaming technology in the late 90s and early 2000s. But with the global pandemic, many of these agencies have gotten caught without a chair to sit on as the music stopped playing in global arenas and stay-at-home orders swept the globe. With COVID-19, nobody is going to concerts, and they won't be for a good long time. Similarly, agencies were hit with canceled sporting events where big margins were also made by the agents, not only representing athletes, but integrating brands and driving marketing strategies. Through these multiple 1-2 punches, the biggest players in Hollywood are on wobbly knees, and the bell isn't going to save them anytime soon. With the erosion of power at a corporate level, many great agents will be asking themselves, is it worth it to stay? As a result, we're going to see more agents going out on their own, possibly shifting to managers where they're legally allowed to produce and where they can control their own destiny. With Hollywood writers having fired their agents to show solidarity with their union, many will be wondering if they still need to give 10% of their income away, or if indeed they can make do with a manager and a lawyer. Seeing this, other talent will be thinking the same. Make no mistake, great agents are worth their weight in gold. But for many, they will see bigger opportunities and greater rewards making a change to the job title on their business card. So, if the true power is no longer with the agencies, where does this power transfer to? Yes, a part of this goes back to distributors, the streamers, and the new incarnation of studios and networks. More on that in a minute. But the real transfer of power goes to producers. For years, producers have been a shell of their former selves. On one hand, they had their agents doing the deals, and on the other hand, they were beholden to TV network and studio development teams driving the creative oversight of their projects. Except for a few great producers, this position had become occupied by great mediators stuck between a rock and a hard place, growing more and more frustrated with their own lack of power and assuming the analogical role of chief operating officer. In the 90s, producers of TV shows had their last power piece taken away from them when networks realized that there were bigger upsides to be had by paying producers flat fees for their services versus simply buying the U.S. rights and letting producers sell the foreign rights themselves. Many producers became ridiculously wealthy under this old model, and many producers lost their shirts when it changed. So why do producers now get past the mantle of power? Content demand. Today there's so much content needed to be made that it's becoming harder and harder for TV networks and studio development teams to have such a hands-on approach to developing projects. Netflix is going through a massive commissioning spree as traditional broadcasters and studios pull their content from the Netflix catalog to launch their own services. As consumers, we become accustomed to a slew of content being added monthly, and we still need to be fed. So Netflix has to make more original content, and so does Hulu, Amazon, and Apple TV. But so too do the incumbents. Once upon a time, CBS, NBC, Showtime, AMC, etc. had to focus on filling 24 hours of programming each day. A mix of new content during primetime, daytime, fare, reruns, old movies, 24 hours of programming, and done. But that doesn't work in the streaming world when consumers have come to expect deep libraries and where they can binge watch an entire season in one day. Take Disney Plus's library, for example. There's not enough in there yet to compete with the new players. They need much more new content. The saving grace for Disney Plus, and why it will always do well, is that it's family fare. Kids will watch Finding Nemo over and over and over again for 6 months, with that one movie justifying the price of subscription for mom or dad to get a 90-minute break as they plonk the kids in front of the iPad. Everyone has to be producing more content, and networks, studios, and streamers just don't have the teams or the time to develop content the way they used to. And this is where a new or old breed of Hollywood producer comes into play. Producers who can find content, fully develop it quickly, and earn the trust of financiers who simply look at the budget and a rich new data set behind cast, genre, and other key talent that validates potential audience numbers. Data that has only been really available for the last 5 years, and send them off to make the project, delivering it with a fat bow ready for consumption. The producer's COO will get the promotion they've been wanting and become the CEO once more. It's a big leap for many producers stuck in the old world, and many will lose their shirts just as they did in the 90s. But there'll be fresh blood and old dogs who remember the old game that will emerge victorious, forming partnerships with filmmakers and writers, birthing their own mini studios, developing and delivering content to a machine with an insatiable appetite. Essentially, Hollywood will be putting more and more trust in producers. You may even say it's going to be more indie. And don't be surprised to see many ex-agents forming partnerships with creative producers to form these new companies. And with the content engine gearing up to meet consumer demand, the exhibition market is about to see a dramatic upheaval. Movie theaters are going bankrupt in the next 12 months. AMC, Regal, and Cinemark can't survive paying multi-million-dollar leases on massive buildings that are sitting empty. Even when we're allowed to gather once more in large groups, so many people will choose not to. It's going to take at least 18 months to get back to any normality, and movie chains don't have enough liquidity or access to willing backers to make it work. And that's not the only problem these exhibitors face. As we've all spent more time streaming content while in lockdown, studios have pushed more of their filler content non-tentpole releases straight to their newly launched streaming services, as they hope to bolster subscribers during the pandemic and demonstrate growth to their shareholders. This move has panicked many theater chains, with AMC taking the bold move to ban Universal films from exhibiting in their theaters after the Trolls sequel, which was to be a tentpole-ish release, went straight to pay VOD. It's estimated that this move raked in an estimated $100 million in on-demand rentals in its first 3 weeks in North America, more than enough to put the film on the road to profitability, according to the conglomerate. With all of this content going straight to streaming, once theaters open back up, they will have a content problem with not enough new movies to fill their screens. Is this the end of movie theaters? No. It is their rebirth. As streamers get to fight to get A-list filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino or Martin Scorsese, one of the biggest downsides to going with cash-rich streamers is that these filmmakers want to see their content on the big screen. They don't want to see their projects go straight to home viewing. Is it nostalgia or truly a better viewing experience? I'll leave that up to you. But for Hollywood talent, theatrical distribution is still the golden ticket, and they don't want to let it go. All of this coincides with the change in law that will allow distributors such as Warner Brothers, Disney, Lionsgate, and yes, Netflix, Amazon, and Apple to own movie theaters. In 1948, the U.S. government passed the Paramount Decree, making it illegal for studios and distributors to own movie theaters. The argument, rightly so, was that it gave monopolies to a few film titans, as nobody else could get their movies seen by an audience. After the Paramount Decree was put into place, we saw an explosion of indie-spirited movies finding an audience, and the film industry was forever changed. Today, there are so many distribution outlets for filmmakers that it's hard to argue that studio ownership of theaters restricts public access to content and allows them to control the market. You could shoot something tomorrow, upload it to YouTube, and have 1 million views by the end of the week. So here's what's going to happen. The Paramount Decree is going to be terminated. The Department of Justice has already asked a federal district court to do this. As a result, movie theaters are going to turn into entertainment centers with big money pumped into them, creating premium experiences in the way that the current owners never could. Amazon will buy AMC or one of the big three. They'll do special screening deals for Prime members. They'll program content based on the viewing data of Amazon Prime members around each of their theaters, and they'll market directly to audiences on their own platform to create hype before bigger rollouts both in theaters and via streaming. As such, they won't have to rely purely on tentpoles, which they'll still need to keep, as they'll be the main attraction on the marquee. But streamers can look at the old Disney Katzenberg model of hitting a good number of singles and doubles versus home runs. You can see why I wanted to read about Jeffrey Katzenberg, because he was correct about that. From an audience point of view, this is going to give us more choice and provide more filmmakers the chance of seeing their content on the big screen, even if it's just in a few sporadic theaters that share similar audience interests in the local community, where interest can be tested to see if wider releases offer any value. Amazon will also integrate these entertainment venues with Twitch, which they bought for $1 billion in 2014. With esports leagues taking off, Valve's The International had a $34 million prize pool in 2018, giving each OG player about $3.1 million in prize money. And to put this in context, Tiger Woods only pulled in $2.7 million for the 2019 Masters. Screens will be adjusted to double up as esports venues, where audiences can watch players compete live with other players from around the world. Gamers will spend hours at the venues eating from the cafeterias and buying from the Amazon retail and pickup points located in these buildings, which traditionally have huge amounts of underutilized space: movies, gaming, retail, hospitality. And then there's Disney. Hit badly by COVID-19 with closed theme parks, cruise lines, and no live sporting events, we won't see a cash purchase from Disney, but every shareholder of a failing movie exhibitor won't pass up on the chance to see their certificates exchanged for notes that bear the mouse. So would this make much sense for Disney? So many reasons. Disney already has over 200 retail stores in dying shopping malls across the country. Just go to any business journal right now and look at how many retailers are reporting that they've stopped paying rent, and they won't be in any position to reopen many of their stores even once all the clear has been given. Shopping malls are already dying. This will be the final nail in the coffin for many of them. For Disney to transfer their stores over to movie theaters is a no-brainer. As anyone who has been to Disneyland knows, there's a feeling of dread as you exit each ride and are funneled through yet another perfectly laid out gift shop where your child's eyes go wide and you begin to hear, "Dad, can I have Disney will create amazing experiences in theaters from carefully positioned merchandise that you have to pass to exit the theater through to the characters greeting you at the door. The experience will be elevated so far beyond current movie theater experiences that watching Finding Nemo on your 55-inch LED with surround sound at home just won't fully transport you the way every moment of a Disney movie theater visit can. The exhibition industry has long been battling bigger and better home entertainment setups, but they had neither the money nor the brand ownership in the movies themselves to elevate. Studios like Disney do. Other studios will have to focus their content and build niche experiences that speak to specific audiences' needs so they can operate experiences at scale and build audience affinity around their brand, just as Disney has done, or how Universal did in their early days with horror. Then there's Apple. As the initial music industry upender with iTunes, Apple has struggled to stay relevant in film and TV. Recently, it's taken big gambles on a few pieces of original content that failed to position them alongside other streamers as a platform worthy of regular attention. But it still has a massive grip around the music industry and the opportunity to mix music events, movies, and just as with Disney, relocating their 270 U.S. stores is a very attractive one. Apple has a ton of other companies it owns that can easily integrate and offer value to entertainment venues across the country. As a company, CEO Tim Cook said recently, they typically buy a new company every 2 or 3 weeks on average. Take, for example, Platoon, which they purchased in December of 2018 and works directly with musicians, bands, and writers to produce, distribute, and sell their work, cutting out the record labels. We could see movie theater stages being used for live concerts backed and promoted by Apple. It could make a lot of sense. With this, their original content arm for film and TV will have to take a closer look at the type of content they're developing, and again, the argument would be for them to hit singles and doubles for their core demographic versus appealing to the masses, which seems to have been their recent goal. Filmmakers will naturally be worried about these moves, but they shouldn't be. Movie theaters will, in general, be better for it. There will be a large number of theaters that close for good, and many film-minded entrepreneurs will try to open art house theaters in their place, which will ultimately close because they can't deliver high enough experiences to have audiences leave their living rooms, and the new mom-and-pop owners don't have diversified business models to cross-collateralize rent and staff. But a wider selection of films can be programmed in the remaining screens due to both lower marketing costs and stronger data sets that are able to demonstrate where movies should initially open to get buzz. Additionally, filmmakers can already self-distribute on Amazon through Prime Video Direct, leading up to their films and taking a share of loading up their films and taking a share of the rental or purchase price. Could producers now have easier online access to four-walling screens in certain markets, a process through which a studio or distributor rents movies for a period of time and receives all of the box office revenue? It's entirely possible, but the success of indie movies once again comes back to the producers. Indie producers have to become real entrepreneurs, building brands, direct-to-audience relationships, and building strategies to generate the heat that agents once did for a very select few. If they can do that, they'll be able to leverage the streaming platform's distribution network and get the attention they deserve, gaining more power and trust for future projects. And this leads us to production. Much has been written over the last few weeks about how studios and networks can get production back up and running. There are a couple of big things at play here. 1, completion bonds and insurance. 2, actors' willingness to return to work. 3, unions and crew rates. The biggest is insurance. When you are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, you can't afford to have actors, directors, and heads of departments get sick. Forget dying. A virus that spreads quickly among a group of people working closely together can cause millions of dollars worth of damage and delays. Filmmakers, indies, or studios can't afford that. And now that insurance companies can put a coronavirus-type situation into their model, they're going to want to exclude it from payouts whenever possible. Movies under $500,000 with actors who are willing to take the risk to bolster their career will be the most produced content over the next few months. That's providing, of course, that these often independently financed movies can find backers who haven't closed up their purse strings to speculative investments in fear of a lasting recession. The problem with these movies is that nobody earns any money on them, but the hope is that it gives rise to interesting voices and new waves of filming that can be adopted by the broader industry. And for those that do get made, streamers, networks, and distributors will snatch them up due to a lack of supply. For studios and networks to kick back into production, they're going to need to see strong health and safety plans to both protect their investment and convince A-list actors to get back to work. Health and safety plans are going to be easier to solve than convincing an actor that it's time to work. In many cases, these A-list actors who are well aware that they won't be able to wear masks and have to work in close quarters with other cast members won't be easily convinced that it is safe to return to normal anytime soon. Those contracted to network shows will have no choice but to turn up on set when they finally get the call. But for those who are fielding offers on movies and new pilots and shows, many household names will be quite happy to wait out the year until they're sure we're all in the clear. Networks and studios have a great deal of persuading to do if they are to catch back up to original production levels, let alone claw back 4 months of no shooting and meet the aggressive targets needed for their new streaming services. Which brings us to unions. Unions often dictate what can and can't happen on set, including how many people need to be employed. It's been a constant frustration for producers for years. This project doesn't need these positions, but because it's a union show, you have to employ them. Technology has made us more flexible with filmmaking, and for many projects, you can get away with less people than you once could. Everyone will have to get used to smaller crews, less travel between locations, and smaller set pieces. It's inevitable. Less people on set, less location moves, means less risk of bringing in a virus that could shut you down. Studios and producers want less crew, and the unions have to agree in order to protect the health of their membership. Additionally, there's been a love-hate relationship with working hours. Most crews don't have a life beyond filmmaking, working 12, 14, or 18-hour days, sometimes 6 days a week. I can attest to that. I've done it. The hours can be brutal. This has got to change. No sleep equals lower immune systems. Tired crews means opening yourself up to basic health and safety mistakes that could allow a virus to run all over. The alternative is longer shooting schedules, 8-hour days, 5-day weeks, the French model. Everyone making a film would rejoice at this news, but fight the flip side being a reduction in daily rates. For most crew, you work like crazy for 8 to 10 to 12 weeks, then you have a month off, and then another crazy work schedule. Work is sporadic. In the new model, you'll earn the same amount of money working the same hours in a given year, but over a long period of shooting days and with less weeks off where you can sit home wondering when your next gig is coming in. This also means you can actually have a life while you're shooting, getting to experience your kids growing up, and how about that? This also impacts 2 other areas. Crew shortages. We don't have enough experienced film crews across the country to meet these longer schedules and the increase in projects that are needing to be shot, not only to catch up with all the shooting that should have happened during the lockdown, but feed the streaming beast. For people looking to get into film and TV, there's never been a better time in history. But with this means more inexperienced people on set, which is going to slow productions down even more. The other area is film locations. Sound stages will be more important due to the ability to completely control the environment and build many different sets, which reduces crew moves and the risk of exposing units to the general public. For times when production must go on location, which will be scheduled over the last week or 2 of production, there will have to be an ability to lock the location down in quarantine for 3 days before the crew begins to shoot so that actors feel safe in the sterile condition of their work environment. Expensive shooting locations such as LA and New York and Chicago, and even Atlanta, where renting a soundstage or location for 2 or 3 or 4 days instead of 1, together with all the associated costs, is going to be cost prohibitive for producers. They are going to be forced into looking at cheaper shooting locations where overall lower costs of living can be achieved and where money simply goes further. Many of these locations have tax incentives and rebates for productions, but these smaller states tend to have low yearly caps on the maximum amount of dollars they can award each year. We're going to see 1 or 2 of these states becoming more aggressive with their legislation, and as a result, a couple of more billion-dollar film hubs will pop up like Atlanta has done over the last 10 years. But the shooting will be different. We'll see smaller cast and crew members, less film shooting across a myriad of international locations, Bond, Mission Impossible, and the likes, and more green screen being used, or for bigger budgeted projects, the use of virtual high-definition backgrounds for exteriors, as used recently in Disney Plus's The Mandalorian. California will see runaway production once again, only this time with the head offices of streaming giants like Netflix and Amazon already not calling Los Angeles their true home, and the ability to stream rushes, take Zoom meetings, perform remote castings, and keep cast and crew out of densely populated cities. It's going to be difficult for Los Angeles to protect its position as the filmmaking mecca that it once was. For a crew facing more weeks shooting but less crazy hours and the opportunity to move from a $1.2 million, 1,000 square foot 1950s LA bungalow to a 3,000 square foot custom-built home on an acre of land close to one of these new film hubs, it won't be difficult to make the decision on a move. As more studio campuses pop up in smaller, easier to shoot cities, we'll see a dramatic shift in the quality of life for all involved. Technology and the coronavirus have shown us we don't have to build our lives in densely populated cities. The death and rebirth of Hollywood is upon us. There are opportunities in every sector of the industry. There really is no greater time. That's what Ambassador Nanclus said at the end of Star Trek VI, or in the middle of Star Trek VI. Wherever you live in the world, to be in film and television, but it is time to innovate and hustle. I love this article, and I want to say one more time, this was written by Richard Janes. Actually, let me put this up one more time. I didn't mean to. I give all credit to Richard Janes. Richard Janes is an Emmy Award-winning producer, entertainment executive, and branding expert. He's a member of the Writers Guild of America and owns marketing agency Phanology. Richard Janes, ladies and gentlemen, knows what is up. I don't agree with everything he said. I think his vision of what movie studio or movie theaters are going to become is a little wonky. I don't see Disney swooping in anytime soon, maybe buying AMC. Maybe Apple will, I don't know. We've talked about this a lot on the John Campea show. It could happen. But I don't. That's a huge leap to ask a streaming service or an entertainment company to buy a bunch of movie theaters. I mean, he makes a good point about Apple stores and Disney stores, but to just suddenly buy a bunch of movie theaters and get into the exhibition business, it's a monster change. And right now, they need to shore up their defenses as far as their theme parks are concerned or whatever. Apple maybe. Who knows? All I know is that I am very optimistic about where the entertainment business is going in my own life. I mean, on one hand, you know that I just finished special features. Dave Parker and I finished special features for The Hills Run Red, which is coming out from Scream Factory. There was a movie that I worked on 12 years ago. I produced it 12 years ago. I developed it and produced it. Dave Parker directed it. We both shot it in Bulgaria. I have a lot of experience. I mean, not every independent producer can say that, oh yeah, they developed a movie, moved it over to a studio, had Joel Silver as our executive producer, and we went and shot it in Bulgaria. Not only that, I mean, when I was doing DVD special features, I was covering movies. I was living in New Zealand for an extended period of time on both Lord of the Rings and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Then I went over to Australia for almost a year working on Superman Returns. Now, admittedly, I was only shooting behind-the-scenes material, but I still had a small crew. I still had a team of people. I was still getting production insurance. I was still renting lodging. I was still paying for food, paying their per diem, dealing with the taxes, renting cars, all kinds of things. So I have no problem. But this new way of life is going to be very, very interesting. And it is going to give a lot of people who are... and I'll flat out tell you, my experience with talent agencies has never been good. It's never been good. They've always in the way. I mean, I've used them, sure, but they have become, in my career over the last, say 20 years when I was making my own stuff, they've always been a hindrance. I was actually a William Morris client for a year, and I ended up on a job working for Bill Cosby, or working on a Bill Cosby project. But they set this up for me on spec. It was on spec. I was at the William Morris agency, and I had a spec project where I dealt with Bill Cosby. Me and Bill meeting his house for months, writing this project. That was my own agency that got me that job. They never got me another. And when I was not an earner after a year, I'm like, I wasn't earning because I was working on a free project you guys told me to do. People came over from a different agency, and they cut the lowest earning 10% of their client base, which was me, because I was working on a spec project that they had got for me with Bill Cosby. But anyway, I mean, agents have been a good thing, but as we all know, they've also been a bad thing too. The agencies got into different businesses. As they got bigger, as they were bought by hedge funds and all that, servicing their clients was not their primary interest. And when you have an agent that's supposed to get you work, as a matter of fact, I have a few people that have told me good things about their agents, but in the last year, not much. Business is going to change. I think it's good. But I really like this article. I know it's long. It's a little inside baseball. I'm sure people are like, what are you talking about? Basically, what is good is, and I think the lesson that we take away from this article is that people who are creative and have an entrepreneurial spirit, and they've wanted to make movies or television or any kind of thing, It's never been a better time. I mean, right now, YouTube. I mean, I have a YouTube platform here. You guys watch my YouTube platform. I'm self-distributing and self-producing everything that's on this YouTube platform where I sit. I do my interviews here. I edit them. I put graphics on them. I throw them up on YouTube. I do my shows. I find things. I make all my graphics. I do everything. Then I went and created, 2.5 hours of behind-the-scenes special features for Hills Run Red that I completely mastered and mixed and color timed, did everything here in the same little place. And I mixed all my special features in 5.1, which I'd never done before. I just thought it was cool, so I did it. And then I shipped it into Scream Factory's portal, the Shout Factory portal, uploaded the pieces. I think I did 13 pieces or something. Uploaded them right from here. Right from here. Tango Shalom. Yeah, I've had to go out. I've got an entire feature film, by the way, ready to sell that has not been seen really by anybody. And it's finished. It's done. I have a feature film. We were going to start selling it, but we didn't because of the coronavirus pandemic. But I have it. It's in this computer. Again. And I think that if you look, you still have to be talented. People still want good products. As a matter of fact, talent more than ever is going to win out because you have to make something that's good. But the opportunities that are here are good opportunities. And Jeffrey Katzenberg was right. He might not be right about Quibi. It's Quibi, not Queeby, it's Quibi. But he was right about the studios have been swinging for the fences. That's what they do now. They make $200 million movies, franchise movies that make $1 billion. But people don't just want to see those. If you could make a movie like Shane Carruth's Primer, $30,000 he made that for. You could probably sell that at film festivals that won awards. You could probably sell that for $100,000 to a streamer. Yeah, you'd have to let go of the rights forever. You'd sell it to them maybe $200,000 or something. But that's an epic win. Depends how you value your time, I suppose. But yeah, definitely. The world is changing. And the world is a very interesting place these days. And I, for one, am excited. I am excited to see what is going to happen in all of this. I've got letters, people. I got letters. I'm going to read a letter and then jump over to see what you guys have been saying. Of course, now I have to find my letters, which I'm going to do. Should have found them before, but hey, I didn't. And it only takes a couple of keystrokes. So, I've got some letters. I'm just going to read them. This first one comes from our friend Enterprise H, Pharaoh of Physical Media. Greetings. First, here's a link to a Let's Play the Game of Star Trek Generations. From a cursory glance, you'll see it is a fairly short game, less than 230 minutes or 4 hours at length. Well, I'll put this link in the live chat. Right now I don't know if I have room or time to play it, but I will. I'll put it in the live chat. There you go. I'd still like to know whether you consider this a failure of imagination or not. In terms of what GOG is, this stands for Good Old Games. It is the next best thing to physical media if you're a PC gamer, as you can download the games onto your computer, no DRM. They are the closest thing to saints of gaming that exist. They have helped to rebuild an old game set in the Blade Runner universe, which no longer worked. It might take your fancy. Sadly, they sell only 3 Star Trek games, the 25th Anniversary, Judgment Rights, and Starfleet Academy. I love the 25th Anniversary and Judgment Rights games, whereas Star Wars titles are much more plentiful. It's really difficult for new fans to get their hands on decent Star Trek games. I'll be honest, I did not expect you to pick the 25th Anniversary as your favorite Star Trek game. Don't get me wrong, it is an authentic TOS experience, but the game has got some straight-up villains with morality as black as a starless night, while you claim to like antagonists in Star Trek. One villain made my blood run cold when I learned what had transpired on that Klingon planet, whereas the other villain is so easy to hate. I would say that these villains are easily more evil than Darth Vader. Enterprise H, NCC 1701H. Yeah, but I gave it a pass because it's a video game. The whole thing about Star Trek and video games, it's really hard to translate because what's your gameplay? Are you going to become a diplomat? It's so that kind of stuff. In a video game, it doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. This one comes from Alan Bennett. Rob, this was an absolutely wonderful interview and discussion with a man that gets it. I bet that he's talking about my interview with Brian Fuller that dropped on the 400th show that now is available. It's a 90-minute entirety. Rob, this was an absolute wonderful interview and discussion with the man that gets it. If such passion that he has could get the funding for a new sci-fi show like Trek themed, also a dollop of The Expanse, coupled with something like, say, Devs in its use of quantum computing and AI within the context of a deep space exploration show, that could be fantastic. If you could think of the HAL 9000 mixed with a little interstellar TARS action. But this is all just a fan want. However, I feel that this was a great personal insight into Mr. Fuller's mindset of what he looks at when creating and writing. I have watched the whole of Hannibal and loved it. I see and hear nuances of characters as Fuller and yourself describe the situation the characters, find themselves in, as well as perpetrating. A very dear old friend of mine introduced myself to this show and the visual imagery used to illustrate the subconscious motivations of Hannibal and Will. Mainly because I'm a visually driven personality, it is what I loved about Lynch in Dune, Blue Velvet, and Twin Peaks, or David Cronenbergian in movies, the subtext of motivation. There are often times that the constraints of meat sack, as you both called it, that made me question humanity as a whole. But that aside, we are, for the most part, looking for that entertainment. I feel you have brought up with this interview. I hope that you can bring Mr. Fuller back on again at some time. Thank you. Well, I did record a Zoom chat with Mr. Fuller yesterday for the Inglorious Treksperts podcast, where we talked about Star Trek Voyager, of which he was a producer and a writer on, which is pretty good. This next letter comes from Kenneth Taylor. Rob, have you heard or watched The Chronicle? News from the Edge. The Sci-Fi Channel aired all 22 episodes in 2001-2002. Apparently, the ratings were too low for renewal. Nonetheless, the series ended on a cliffhanger. The setting of the series was the World Chronicle, based on the Weekly World News. And the premise of the series was that the stories were true. I remember the series vaguely until recently when I found all of the episodes for free at archive.org. Well, I actually did watch a few of those episodes, and I kind of liked them. And I thought it was a pretty good show, to be honest. I thought it had a really interesting thing. I binge-watched the series and made mental notes. I noticed the tone varied from being a comedy-drama to a drama-comedy, often within an episode. This was not necessarily negative. Stories included time travelers, a cursed sombrero on Cinco de Mayo, vampires who were Elvis impersonators, and subterranean monsters. The series played like Kolchak the Night Stalker crossed with the X-Files and Northern Exposure. The major characters were interesting. Chad Willett portrayed Tucker Burns, a disgraced journalist who could only get work in his profession at the tabloid. Reno Wilson, played by Wes Freewall, the Star Wars quoting photographer who modeled his bed after the sleep chamber from the Nostromo. Rena Sofer, portrayed by Grace Hall, a reporter whom aliens had abducted 6 times. John Polito played Donald Stern, the publisher-editor with bottomless pockets, a mysterious background, powerful friends, and an alien arsenal at his disposal. Curtis Armstrong played Sal, or Pig Boy, the researcher in the basement. He was part human, part porcine. His refrain was, "I'm a pig." The series was clever. I'll watch it again this year. Remain well, Kenneth Taylor. Well, Kenneth, you make me want to go back and in the best tradition of all imagination connoisseurs, you make me want to go back and revisit this series. Perhaps I should do just that. And so you guys I'm going to put this into the live chat right here. So there you go. That's cool. Now I'll jump over and see what you're saying over here in the chats. Let me get to where I was going. Where have I been? Where have I been? I don't know. I'll get back to the letters. Okay. This comes from Slevin Beam. He sends in a tip and he says, I asked John this yesterday, then I realized I haven't asked you. What type of accessories would you have as a 6th scale action figure? John said he would have a lightsaber and a microphone. I'm going to try and make that happen. Well, I would have to say that, I would need a Type 2 phaser, the classic Star Trek pistol grip Type 2 phaser. I would have to have that, and I would have to have my own 6th scale action figure that could fit in my hand. So as a 6th scale figure, one of my accessories would then have to be a 6th scale figure. probably either a Star Wars 6-scale figure or a superhero 6-scale figure. That's what I'm. So I'd want a phaser in one hand and a 6-scale figure in the other. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Star Wars Rocks sends in a tip and says, "Hi Rob, I was just on your website and I can't find any link to send videos to. It should be there. I don't know exactly where it is, where I would tell you to go, but you should be able to upload them. But hang on, since you ask, why don't I go and find out for you?" I will see. Or for some reason I can't get into the website, which I can. Well, that's interesting. It didn't send me the right website. I don't know why. So, okay. If you go to, let me see, contact, I would imagine, is it up in contact in the top? Contact us. No, maybe it's not there. Is it engage with us? That's a good question. Log in. I'll have to ask. I don't even know. I'm looking here and I'm looking at where to send us videos. Letters. That's a good question. I'll have to come back to you on that. Maybe you have to log in first. Maybe you have to join to send me a video. I'm not really sure. To be honest, I got to go find out. I'll find out for you. Star Wars Rocks. I can't find it right now. I can't search around. Dangerous Lee sends in a tip and says, "Hi, Rob. I personally own 17 different editions of Terminator 2 Judgment Day on physical media. Do you own Terminator 2, and which film in your collection have you owned the most copies of?" Okay, well, first of all, I probably own about 8 different copies. The first T2 I ever had was the big boxed Laserdisc set. It was like a puffy box. It was pretty great. And then, of course, DVDs and Blu-rays. So, of the movie that I've bought the most over the years, it's got to be close. They got neck and neck. It's got to be either Dawn of the Dead or Star Wars, because both Dawn of the Dead and Star Wars I bought in the early '80s on videotape. Then I converted them to Laserdisc, and I bought how many different versions of Star Wars? I think I had at least 3 different versions of Star Wars on Laserdisc. I had the first pan and scan version. I had the original Japanese letterbox version. Then I had the American letterbox version. And then I had, even more. Then I bought the THX Definitive Edition box set. So I had 4 different versions of Star Wars on Laserdisc. And with Dawn of the Dead, I had probably just as many. There was the Elite Dawn of the Dead Laserdisc. I think Thorny MI put it out on Laserdisc too. Then I had the Japanese Chrome box set on Laserdisc. And I want to say I had the black covered. So I probably had 4 or 5 Laserdiscs of Dawn of the Dead too. And then countless versions and international versions. And so, but I don't know how. I'd have to count. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Good question, though. I don't know. I'll have to find out. But I love the fact, kudos to you for owning 17 versions of T2. I would ask you then, what is your favorite version? What is the definitive version? Jordy Lyons sends in a super chat and says, "Does an opening weekend really matter anymore?" Yes. Predominantly, movies are front-loaded when they open because in a look, the new James Bond movie or the new Avengers movie, look at how much money they're expected to gross hundreds of millions of dollars their opening weekend. That's a lot of money to get right away. So, yeah, absolutely. I think an opening weekend is hugely important. Willow's here, and she sends in a tip and says, "For some reason, I stopped watching Better Call Saul after the 3rd season. I've just started rewatching it again. Do you think Kim's dead by the time we get to Breaking Bad?" Well, Kim's not in Breaking Bad, so I would say probably. I don't know if I should be saying that, Willow. Mukbang Reviews sends in a super chat and says, "You will love Hollywood on Netflix." People keep saying that. I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to check it out. I hope it's good. I want to watch it. Bob the Bard sends in a tip and says, "Rob is a movie completist, from classics to campy to D-list tapes, laser and Blu-ray, and nowadays 4K. He might be a format elitist." Bob, I am a movie completist. I love all kinds of movies, mostly. But I am a total movie snob. I'm a home theater snob. Look, I started out in VHS. My whole thing is I'm a snob when it comes to the products that I want to own. That's, hardcover books. I love my hardcover books. I love the best version of an action figure. You know, I don't want every version of Darth Vader. I have a Hot Toys Darth Vader, I have a Sideshow Darth Vader, and that's it. I want the best product available. And that's why it bums me out when you buy a 4K and it's not up to snuff. I don't like that. It really bothers me. And I'm a complete format elitist. I love 4K when it's done right. It's all about your transfer. It's all about the care. Like watching Brazil this week for whining about movies, that transfer was amazing. And I don't know if I ever watched Brazil all the way through because I've owned it so many different times. To sit there and watch it on that Criterion Blu-ray again, it was amazing. It's amazing. Mukbang says, all of those negative comments were made about YouTube as well. Time will tell. Well, Mukbang, you're absolutely right about that. Quibi might catch on. It might work. But on the other hand, I would say that the format, it's like, I think the format has moved on. But you never know. Hey, I said I would eat my words and join Quibi if in 6 months I'm an idiot. And I want people, I want everybody to succeed when it comes to movies and television, because when people succeed, it's better for everybody. It's never good when people don't succeed. I never want that. I never want them to fail. I really don't. It's not good. Stub McShave says, how long until movie and TV production starts up again? Will cast and crew be made to sign papers so that the studios aren't liable for people getting infected on the set? How will it work with international talent and productions abroad? Stubble, these are all great questions. And as the article I read deals with, insurance is going to be a big issue. I don't even know if people are going to be able to get production insurance. I don't know. This is all, people will have to sign. There'll be liability waivers and things like that. I mean, luckily, the actual numbers with coronavirus, what's going to happen is we have to start being realistic about the numbers. Unless there's a mutation, most people are not at risk of dying from coronavirus. However, there's that Broadway actor who had his leg amputated. He's in a coma now, and he was, I think, in his early 40s, maybe. I forget his name. I was just reading about him today, as a matter of fact, and they were talking about how his lungs were so damaged by the virus, it's as if he smoked cigarettes for 50 years. So it's a nasty, vicious disease. And until we have some kind of a vaccine, I think we're all going to have to deal with it. It's going to be, I don't even know. It's going to be a bummer. You know, we'll see. Sujith sends in a super chat and says, that feeling you get after listening to a good RMB rant. The lockdown has been extended till May 17th in India. Can't get booze here. I want beer. You know, I want beer too. I got to tell you, the Pasadena Pizza Company that I love, which is right down the street, I haven't been able to get them on the phone. They were great the last couple days, though they've been like closed. I go to the little market there. I get my Voodoo IPA, which is the one beer they sell that I like. And I get pizza and bring it back, and salad and pizza, other pizza for the girls, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Sujith, so you, my friend, I don't know. What are the liquor laws in India like? Do you guys have some, like, is it like Utah and things like that? Can you drink booze? Is it openly, can you consume it? I know, like, in certain Muslim countries you can't drink booze openly. Like, what's it like in India? I don't know. Can you just get booze? I mean, is Indian beer good? Is local? Because whenever I go somewhere, I only drink the local hooch. And I've never been to India, and I'd love to go. I have a friend that I grew up with who lives in India. I'll go hang with her. But I want to go. Marv Diesel sends in a super chat and says, can you explain why TNG didn't get an 8th season? Also, Data was a beast every time he was in command. Congratulations on your continued success. Marv Diesel, that's a good question. Basically, it came down to money. They really decided that from an economic standpoint, the kind of money that they would have to pay and re-up everyone's fees and all that, it would be too expensive. It wouldn't make economic sense. And also, I think people after 7 years really wanted to move on. Remember, they were doing 26 episodes a season back then. That's a lot of work. And then obviously, it made more sense. Everybody on the creative team kind of just wanted to move on. But it's mostly a money issue. Once you get to a certain amount of seasons and you've made a certain amount of episodes, it makes no more economic sense to move forward. You can't really get a return on your investment because everybody's getting paid so much. So that's really why it was. Mukbang sends in another super chat and says, all of your interviews were worthy. Thank you. Well, Mukbang, I wouldn't do interviews if I didn't think so, but I really appreciate you saying that. I wouldn't do an interview. It's been no secret. I've always wanted to interview people on the show. That was kind of what I wanted to do. And I was fighting the impulse because I learned from being on Collider Heroes that when we would have industry professionals on, they were our lowest rated shows, because I really believe this, that part of the appeal of these kinds of YouTube shows is, my ear is hurting. Part of the appeal of these YouTube shows is you want to hang out with your favorite YouTuber. It's like being at the bar with somebody. I mean, I think that's why people tune in. People have been liking our whining about movie shows because Elizabeth and I think, have good chemistry on the air. And she's, like, when I first made her do it, she did it, but she'd never done that before. But now in the space of 21 episodes, she's really come out of her shell, and she's a delightful presence. I think she and I have a really good time on YouTube together. And it's not something people can do, but I think if I just did, I don't want to become Joe Rogan, because I do like hanging out like this and talking to people and just shooting the shit. But I would like to be Joe Rogan half the time, doing a real interesting interview show. And it's great. I'm doing an interview today that I didn't expect to be doing. And hopefully, I figure if I could drop one interesting interview a week with people that are, I would only interview people that I like or that I know their work. Maybe I could interview just anyone, but I think I told you the secret on the show once, maybe not you specifically, but on the show I said that when I was interviewing celebrities for DVD, people that worked in film and television for DVD special features, I would always lead with something that had nothing to do with what we were talking about, like the product that we were promoting or whatever, just to show that I knew their career and that I was fans of their work. I wasn't just somebody sitting down and going, hey, how are you, and looking at note cards. I don't like to look at note cards. I think that the best way to have a discussion is like with Brian Fuller. You just have a discussion. Or with Carrie, I'd known Carrie, so we have a friendship and an ease between us. But also I know what questions to ask her because I've known her. And I thought, again, what you want to do, I think the best interviews are the interviews where, here's my theory about doing celebrity interviews. Yes, most of the time they're done in service of something. They're selling, so they have a movie coming out, they have a TV show coming out. But, we all want to know about movie stars 24/7. And I think when you're talking to movie stars or celebrities, or when I'm talking with behind-the-scenes film people, my singular goal, is to get a sense of who these people are as people. If you ask an actor, tell me about your character, I hate that question, because you already know. We as an audience, we know more about the character than they do, because their only experience of the character is to perform that character. They don't know what it's like to watch their own character and become a fan of that character and put it into your head canon, the mythology of the show. So when you ask an actor to describe their character or comment on a plot point, like, what did you think when this happened? The actor's like, in their minds, they get it intellectually what you're asking, but they're never going to be excited about the plot point because it's their job. So they might have been surprised for 2 seconds, but when they're playing that plot point, whatever the startling revelation, however many times Patrick Stewart said, I am Locutus of Borg, you will live to service us. And for him, it's a pain in the ass to be in that makeup. How long did he have to say it? How many times? He had to come up with a voice. So for us, it was a stunning few moments when we first see Locutus first appear. It's amazing. But for Patrick Stewart, it represents a day of a pain in the ass of getting in that makeup. It probably sucked, hot, horrible. So his experience of being Locutus during the day is a very different experience than we watching Locutus. So you've got to, my goal when I interview anybody is to get a sense of who they are as a person. What drives you? What do you dig? What are your influences? What do you my interviews are always on that level. So sometimes maybe I don't get into the things like, it was so interesting to me. Somebody says on the Brian Fuller interview, somebody left a comment that said, wow, you talked to Brian Fuller for 90 minutes and you didn't address Star Trek Discovery. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, no, we didn't. And I was not talking to him about Star Trek Discovery. I specifically wanted to talk to Brian Fuller about Hannibal and why he loves horror. And that was the specific thing. I mean, and also, I don't want to cause a problem for anybody. I know that my personal opinion about Star Trek Discovery, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to it that works over at CBS, but if I were to do an interview with Brian Fuller about Discovery, it could only be some kind of a hatchet piece. And I don't want to necessarily do that. Not because I know anything, it's just that, from my perspective, Star Trek Discovery has been an abject failure. And Brian obviously left under a cloud, and I don't want to do that. If I'm going to interview somebody, I want to celebrate their creativity. That's the single reason that I want to interview people is I want them to share their creative energy with me and their joy at creation. That's not to say I will shy away from people I want to interview, but I don't want to. I'm never going to be a muckraker. I'm only going to interview people that share my enthusiasm. My interviews must be, my chancellor, being the chancellor of cheerfulness, is the only people you'll only get that from me when I do interviews, because when I sit down, I'm having so much fun. So thanks, Mukbang. I appreciate that. Bob the Bard sends in a tip and says, Quibi's a platform du jour, 10 minutes on 3x5 viewers, a phone-watching hobby, or Katzenberg's folly. To me, the plant smells of... Oh, Bob, I get it. Quibi's a platform du jour, 10 minutes on 3x... Oh, wait. I thought this was going to be a limerick. Perhaps it's not. Quibi's a platform du jour, 10 minutes on 3x5 viewers. Oh, okay, du jours. Okay, Quibi's a platform du jours, 10 minutes on 3x5 viewers. A phone-watching hobby or Katzenberg's folly. To me, the plant smells of manure. Not bad. Not bad. You could do better, Bob. Come on. But that's not bad. I'll give that to you. Mukbang sends in a super chat and says, binging versus weekly. Are you sure a binging model doesn't keep people talking? It might. I mean, but again, they're asking you then to binge watch a movie in 10 parts or whatever, which I think is weird. I like binging when I get sucked into a show like Tiger King or something. I'll sit there. If I have the time, I'll binge watch it just because you want to get to the end. A story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. You're following a story. I don't care if it's 1 episode or 5 episodes or 10 episodes. I want to see the end of that story. However, I will say, when the opportunity is there, I might binge. But when the opportunity isn't there, like Devs is released, if I get so caught up in a show, I like the anticipation. I think about it. I talk about it. I come on this show and be like, oh my God, did you watch Devs last night? Freaked me out. So I think both have their pros and cons. I think so. Eric Gantz sends in a super chat. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all you do, Rob. You've indicated an appreciation of anime. Ever give Gundam a try? And if so, do you have a favorite series? A recommendation, Iron-Blooded Orphans, best non-Universal Century series, in my opinion. I've not seen Iron-Blooded Orphans, but let me just tell you about Gundam. How many Gundams do I have in this room? Probably not as many as a lot of people, but I have a lot. I love Gundam. I've been watching Gundam since it debuted, well, since I was able to get tapes in 79, 80 probably. I am a huge Universal Century fan. I love the Universal Century. I love the continuity. When I really liked Gundam Unicorn, I thought that was pretty dope. I haven't watched Iron-Blooded Orphans, but I keep hearing about it. But, I go back. I mean, I liked Wing Gundam a lot. I'm wondering, I don't have any Gundam figures that I can grab, but I love my die-cast Gundams. I love my perfect grade Gundams. I certainly do. So I'm a huge fan of Gundam. I have not watched Iron-Blooded Orphans yet. It's funny, I've been watching Origin, which actually is pretty dope, to be honest. But my favorite Gundam is the Wing Gundam from Endless Waltz. Just because I love the wings. I love that. That's why I love seeing boats in space or planes in space or, trains in space. Matsumoto Leiji, I love all that. But yes, I love Gundam. I love Gundam. And, yeah. Abdul Alans says, hey, Rob, do you ever see DC reaching the heights of the MCU? I think DC has it in them to put out movies that are as good as Marvel movies, but do I ever think they're going to have a shared universe that has 23 movies that with an average gross of $1 billion? I do not. Not unless they They need a visionary at the top, which they do not have. Stubble McShave says, if Amazon takes over AMC, Prime members could get special deals such as exclusivity to first showings. They could also cross-promote on many Amazon platforms. They could also have season finales of their big TV shows in theaters. Oh, totally. 100%. And I think that's why that article is great. I think for sure that is definitely something that would happen. Mukbang says, I love the new plaque. Please explain. Well, for those of you who are interested, if you were watching the unboxing yesterday, our man Joe Weiss, who makes these awesome vinyl stickers, he always sends, look at this. Look at this. Joe Weiss made, this is a vinyl sticker. Look at this. It peels off really easily. Look at this. Hardcore vinyl stickers. I mean, these are great stickers. Here's a sticker of Babylon 5. And this is not a small sticker. Look at this. Look at, my head's a big head. I got a big noggin. And look at that. That's pretty dope. So Joe Weiss, who makes these things, and also, if you weren't here yesterday, you didn't see the unboxing video, he made these things that I'm going to give away if you don't win the... He made these corporate whore... look at logo. He even made one from Body Melt. The Running Man logo, Recall, Quietus from Children of Earth, The Stuff, OCP, Zorg from The Fifth Element. I mean, how dope is that? So Joe Weiss in Holly, Michigan, who makes... I mean, look at this. Check this out. How rad is this? I mean, that's so cool. And he even made a Rocinante. Like, he's got... And these are like Last Exit to Nowhere. I want to look into this because he basically made these sheets. And these sheets, he was thinking about, like, we could sell these sheets. And you could sell them and get these stickers. They're really nice, really well-printed stickers. I don't know about the legality of this. I mean, if you just do the logos and you don't say where they're from, then you could probably get away with it because you could, I suppose. But when you say what they're from, this is from Running Man 1987, then you run into trouble. That said, Joe made a Starship dedication plaque for the Robservatory. Now, this is pretty dope, and he made this. USS Robservation NCC 2019. I love that because the year launched September 10th, 2018. Earth Station, Pasadena, California. I mean, this is so rad. This is like, a Starship dedication plaque. I was actually quite verklempt when I opened that up, but that's where it came from. That came from Joe Weiss. And Joe, there's so many cool things. I mean, I'm looking to see where did I put them all? Oh, they're right here. I mean, look at, so other things Joe did. Look at this. Like I showed yesterday, if you were here for the unboxing, you saw these, but he made stickers of all of the insignias of Starfleet ships that appeared in the original series. He did this. Look at this. These are vehicles. These are stickers, vehicles. Even the Landmaster from Damnation Alley. The Danger Diabolic's Jaguar Lost in Space. I mean, how cool is that? The Last Chase, Lee Majors, The Last Chase. I mean, these are such deep dives. Joe is such a geek. I love it. He is such an imagination connoisseur. And we totally park our... Oh, and look what he puts on the bottom. I even see this. Look at this. Easy, fanboys and girls. This art is not perfect or necessarily scaled to one another. How great is that? So, yeah. I mean, look at this. He did one, he calls this Gun Lovers. I showed these yesterday, but look at that. Logan's Run, Space 1999, Han Solo, RoboCop. I mean, it's amazing. He even made stickers of, like, these Bond stickers. Look, the DB5, the Disco Volante from Thunderball, and Little Nelly from You Only Live Twice. I mean, these are really high-quality stickers. They're so rad. And, I mean, we could sell them, but I don't want to get in trouble. But they're rad. So that's where the plaque came from Joe Weiss. Star Wars Rocks, he says, hi, Rob, for some reason I can't complete the sign-up process for your website, and I don't know why. You know what, Star Wars? I will look into that and find out. I know that Mike Bodden has been working on the website. The website might be currently under construction somehow, and that's why. Joe Flicks sends in a super chat and says, sorry, I missed the source of Richard Jane's article that you quoted. Could you post a link in the comments? Yes, I can. It was a long Medium article that he wrote. And let me find it. Where did I put it? I'm happy to put it into the chat. Here it is. So of the letter that I read, this is, again, it's Richard Jane's, and it was in Medium, and here is it that I read it today. It's absolutely fascinating. So there you go. Yeah, it's a great article. So there you go, Joe Flicks. Bob the Bard Koal says, my past tip messages were supposed to be limericks, but this platform does not recognize carriage returns and ruin the format. No, I got it. I eventually got it. I love your limericks. Just say limerick of the day or something, so I know. Mukbang said, I would love to see your short film work on whatever platform, Quibi or elsewhere. It's funny. I made a short film with Actually, I made 2 short films with Peter Billingsley. I haven't made many short films. I haven't done that much, but I should get them and put them up. I'll put them on the channel. I'll put my old stuff. I should put my old Super 8 movies I made when I was a little kid. I made this one called Encounter, where this invisible alien terrorizes my neighborhood. It's pretty funny. Which Xenomorph Orthodontist sent in a super chat and says, hey Rob, have you read Ship of Thesis, aka S, by Doug Dorst and J.J. Abrams? I have not. I've been amazed by the inserts, book, and margin notes between the 2 fictional readers. I have not. I should read that. Is it good? If it's J.J. Abrams, is it good? I'd read that. Mukbang says, please explain your amazing t-shirt. This shirt is, as I said earlier, in my unboxing yesterday, it's one of the Richards designs. And it's of the Crow. It looks like it's actually J.O. Barr's actual artwork from the comic. Or maybe the Richard himself did this artwork. I'm not sure. Maybe it is an original. And it is the Richards art. I think the Richard's in the chat today. I don't see him right now, but I think he's been here, or he's here. And the Richard, you can find him at facebook.com at the Richards Art, TheRichards, the Richards Art, one word, on Facebook. Or you can find him at djthe13 at gmail.com. That's djthe13 at gmail.com. And this is one of the Richard shirts, and it's an extra large, and it feels good. And if you like this shirt, I'd get it. It's cool. I like this shirt. So Mukbang, that's why Dangerous Lee is here. Sends in a tip, and it says, of the 17 editions of Terminator 2 I own, my favorite is the Japanese premium edition steelbook. I'd hoped the 4K Blu-ray would be definitive, but the transfer is quite poor. I've heard that. Don't you hate that? I mean, it drives me bananas when the transfer... there's no excuse. No excuse. Swag Props sends in a tip and says, hey Rob, yesterday I posted an article in the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook group in which Kurtzman expressed that he hopes the modern Trek shows that he helmed would make Gene Roddenberry proud. I read that. I was wondering if you've read it, and yes, what are your thoughts? Look, for as much as I dislike Star Trek over the last 10 years, 11 years, 12 years now, 11 years, I cannot deny that there's a lot of very talented people that are trying to do their best work. I mean, I get it. I understand. I just think that many of them are ill-equipped to deliver. They either don't have the love, they don't have the affection, they don't have the understanding. Some people are just not good fits for the material. Or some people just don't, The talented writers that worked on the original Star Trek are very much a tough act to follow. A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And, I don't think that Gene Roddenberry would have approved. He would have loved the sex. I don't think he would have approved of the violence. I don't think he would have approved of the spirit of it all. But, and the fact that kids can't watch it with their parents. Would you want your kids to watch Discovery or Picard? Some 8-year-old kid? I wouldn't. So, but I appreciate it. I think he was sincere in his... I appreciate that I believe he was sincere in his desire to have Roddenberry want his show to be good. I think he's being serious about that. Dangerous Lee sends in a tip and says, Jackie Chan's 1994 classic Drunken Master 2, a.k.a. The Legend of Drunken Master, was recently released on Blu-ray 4K, restored, fully uncut with subtitles. Did you get it? I have not, but it's on my list. I have to say, other than the discs that I've been shipped, I kind of went on a buying moratorium over the last couple months, because I just was like, any money I get is for our survival, family, rent, food, all of that. I haven't bought anything. The only things that I've purchased during this time have been discs that I pre-ordered, like I guess I owed Dieter for Rollerball and Crash, and then I bought the Elephant Man disc that I had pre-ordered, the 4K Elephant Man, but that's it. So I haven't bought anything. I desperately want to get the drum. I love those movies. I love Jackie Chan movies. Sue just sent in a super chat and says, we have good bars and pubs in India. We have microbreweries that make good IPA too. All right. Kingfisher is the popular local brand here, loved by Europeans. Oh, I think I've had Kingfisher before. I need to come to India. I need to. What's it like to hang out in a bar in India? You know, I love hanging out in pubs for long periods of time. Like, I could hang out in a pub all day just talking to people. I would love to go to a bar in India and just hang out. I think it'd be awesome. I would love that. Stubble McShave says, how about an interview on Robservations with Mark Altman prior to the release of the new Bond? I'd like to see you talk Star Trek, Free Enterprise, and about his book on Bond. Oh, I'd love to do that. Mark would totally do that. That'd be great. He would be into that. That's a great idea. As far as I'm concerned, actually, Dan V sends in a tip and says, as far as I'm concerned, the MCU had to catch up to the DC animated universe with Batman, Superman, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited live action-wise. DC won't catch Marvel with that shared universe. Warner Brothers not greenlighting the Justice League Reunion animated movie still sinks. I really like those animated shows, too. They were really, really good. They were really, really good. BL Ali says, talk about deep dives. I'm pretty sure I spotted the hovercraft from Planet of Burr on one of those sticker sheets. I think you did, actually. You did. It's right here. How cool is that? That's probably because you brought it up that he put it on that sheet. Isn't that great? What a great design, too. Yeah. Vortex Claudia sends in a tip. Bonjour, Monsieur Robert. I finally finished watching Zardoz today. Merci, mon ami. Now I'm having an existential crisis. Is immortality like being stuck in quarantine? I think I'll need more gin. Well, that's from the great Claude Hibbert talking about, yeah. I mean, you know, it's interesting. Well, I guess I should save the conversation, but I've always loved John Borman's 1974 Zardoz with Sean Connery. Everybody makes fun of it now, but the whole idea behind it, I think, is very, very interesting. And the idea about immortality is just boring. I mean, I would be bored, too, if I had to live in that place. What is there to do? You know, everybody slept with everybody else. You know, there's only like 50 people that live there or whatever. No, there's more than that. But still, I mean, I would be bored to tears. Bored to tears. It's going to be fun talking about Excalibur, about Zardoz, though. I can't wait to do that tomorrow in Whining About Movies. We have a double header. Tomorrow night is the culmination of our viewers' choice on Whining About Movies. We are talking about Zardoz, John Borman's 1974 Zardoz, and Rennie Harlin's, I want to say 96, Long Kiss Goodnight. It's going to be a two-bottler, a two-hander tomorrow night. Martin Lawrence has written in. Martin Lawrence says, greetings and salutations, Rob. I hope you're keeping well in these uncertain times. I wanted to draw yours and other imagination connoisseurs' attention to a new 9-part series called Gangs of London. It aired here in the UK on Sky Atlantic. I'm not sure where it's streamed in the US. It's created by Gareth Evans, who did The Raid and The Raid 2, with the same sort of fight scenes and action prevalent throughout the series. Great acting and plot all complement the amazing stunts. Anyway, I hope this finds you in good health. Yours sincerely, Martin Lawrence. Let me tell you about that, Martin Lawrence. I love Gareth Evans' The Raid, or as I call it, anybody who knows me or who's watched me on the internet for a long time knows that those movies to me are called The Rad and The Rad 2, even radder, because those movies are so radical. Yes, he has a new series, and I can't wait to see it. Jordy Lyons was just going off about it. He posted a good review that I had actually read in the group that I read back in March when it was, I think it was March when I first read that review. I had to know everything about this series, and yeah, I'm in, man. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. James Kevins writes in and says, "Greetings, Rob. I wanted to drop you a line about episode 401. Your topic was, can AI be inventors? It was kind of thought-provoking discussion. Star Trek was famous for back in the good old days. It also reminded me of a couple of news stories I read a year or two ago. Reporting for The Guardian on December 7th, 2017, Samuel Gibbs wrote, Alpha Zero AI, for those, let me just, before I read this, I did a story about they're not going to allow this AI that invented these two different things to allow the AI to get patents on them, even though the AI invented them, because only human beings can hold patents. And I thought this was I didn't realize it had been going on for a couple of years now, and the AI can't have patents, and the person who invented the AI, or who owns the AI, didn't want to take the patents for whatever reason, but it was interesting. And again, I was talking about how that we are, there are moral and ethical questions that we're going to have to deal with in the future that we haven't dealt with, and that's one of the things that we're going to have to figure out. So Samuel Gibbs wrote in The Guardian on December 7th, 2017, Alpha Zero AI beats champion chess program after teaching itself in 4 hours. Alpha Zero, the game-playing AI created by Google's sibling DeepMind, has beaten the world's best chess-playing computer program, having taught itself how to play in under 4 hours. The repurposed AI, which has been repeatedly beaten the world's best Go players as AlphaGo, has been generalized so it can now learn other games. It took just 4 hours to learn the rules to chess before beating the world champion chess program Stockfish 8 in a 100-game matchup. AlphaZero won or drew all 100 games, according to a non-peer-reviewed research paper. Starting from random play and given no domain knowledge except the game rules, AlphaZero achieved within 24 hours a superhuman level of play in the games of chess and shogi, a similar Japanese board game, as well as Go, and convincingly defeated a world champion program in each case, said the paper's authors, that include DeepMind founder Demi Hassabis, who was a child chess prodigy reaching master standard at the age of 13. It's a remarkable achievement, even if we should have expected it after AlphaGo, former world chess champion Gary Kasparov told Chess.com. We have always assumed that chess required too much empirical knowledge for a machine to play so well from scratch, with no human knowledge added at all. DeepMind said the difference between AlphaZero and its computers is that its machine learning approach is given no human input apart from the basic rules of chess. The rest it works out by playing itself over and over and over with self-reinforced knowledge. The result, according to DeepMind, is that AlphaZero took an arguably more human-like approach to the search for moves, possessing around 80,000 positions per second in chess, compared to Stockfish 8's 70 million. The new generalized AlphaZero was able to beat the superhuman former version of itself, AlphaGo, at the Chinese game of Go after only 8 hours of self-training, winning 60 games and losing 40 games. While experts said the results are impressive and have potential across a wide range of applications to complement human knowledge, Professor Joanna Bryson, a computer scientist and AI researcher at the University of Bath, warned that it was still a discrete task. And on October 26, 2018, Brian Lynn reported for the Voice of America News, first AI-created artwork sells for $432,500 in New York. A work of art created by artificial intelligence has been sold by a major art seller for the first time. The print sold for an unexpectedly large amount of $432,500. The artwork was bought during an auction at Thursday at Christie's, an art house in New York City. Officials had predicted it would sell between $7,000 and $10,000. The buyer was not immediately announced. In a website post, Christie said the AI-created work was the first ever sold by a major auction house. It praised the sale as the signal of an arrival of AI art on the world auction stage. The artwork, called Portrait of Edmund Bellamy, was made by a machine learning algorithm. The AI system was created by members of the art collective called Obvious in Paris, France. It shows the portrait of a man looking similar to subjects shown in historical paintings. A description by Christie's noted that since the man appears to be wearing dark clothes with a white collar, he is possibly a man of the church. Christie's described some differences of the AI-created work compared to other art it sells. For example, it said some parts of the face were not as clearly defined as those painted by artists. Also, some parts of the print were left empty. However, Christie's sale organizer Richard Lloyd said the piece was very similar to many others sold over many years. And it goes on. Christie's admits that artwork created by machine learning methods leaves open questions about who or what should get the credit for creating the piece. If the artist is the one that creates the image, then that would be the machine. Cassels Dupree said, if the artist is the one that holds the vision and wants to share the message, then that would be us. In both cases, the computer intelligence is exceeding its programming. It is learning. It is evolving. Even Bruce Maddox might call that the beginning of sentience. How will we answer when our silicon progeny asks us, is this all that I am? Is there nothing more? Heady stuff. Thanks for making us think. Peace and long life. Well, Jim, when the singularity is reached, AI will be sentient and we will have a lot of splaining to do. But, it's interesting. If AI creates that painting and it was sold at auction, that's going to be something that will be talked about for a long time. Tony Rodriguez writes in and says, hi, Rob. Tony Rodriguez here. You met me and my girlfriend at the Brooklyn Schmodown. I've left you a link to my Game Room House blog, where you can see my game rooms and many collectibles, mostly Transformers and Amy Bar and video game area. The pics are somewhat updated, but my masterpiece area shelves by the TV have more, and I plan on sending you updated pics you can show on YouTube. Well, Tony, I will share this with the Post-Geek Singularity. Here's Tony's collection room, and I met him in Brooklyn. That was fun. I've never submitted my invoice for that, by the way. They owe me $100. So there you go. It's in the comments. So check out Tony's collection, which is cool. Thanks for sending it in. I love seeing people's stuff. It is amazing. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting some doubles here. Maybe I doubled up. I didn't mean to double up. Omar94. Omar, like as promised. Hey, Rob. This is the second topic of James Bond after the first one being about the songs. I mentioned in a previous letter how I only like 4 out of the 24 Bond films in total. Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and Casino Royale. However, I might have liked a few more if the earlier scripts were used. GoldenEye's original script by Michael France would have made a better movie to me than what we got. I think it was written with Timothy Dalton in mind. It was darker and more serious, with many sequences that were used in later movies. For example, there were helicopters with saw blades, like in The World Is Not Enough, a country house attack like in Skyfall, an airplane sequence in a snowy setting like Spectre, a helicopter attack scene like in Quantum of Solace, and underground stuff with warheads like in The World Is Not Enough. M was also male. If you're interested in reading the script, it's online. Type into Google Michael France GoldenEye script. It's the first choice. I know you like Quantum of Solace. I didn't because of the story, but that was because of the writer's strike. It might have been better if the script was in place, if there was a script involving Vest Berlin having a child from a previous relationship that was kidnapped by Quantum, and Jeffrey Wright's character Felix Leiter having a bigger role. The script is not available, so it's hard to tell if it would have made a better movie than what we got. I'm in the minority, but I didn't like Skyfall, neither did I, so I hope Spectre would be better. I didn't dislike Spectre, but I don't think it's that good. It might have been better if John Logan's original script was used. It's not available. From what I read, it had many noticeable differences. The opening scene took place in Amsterdam in a cage fight. The only thing good about Spectre is the opening. Instead of Mexico's Day of the Dead scene, Blofeld was revealed in the opening, changed to an African warlord whose real name is Joseph Kiimbu, and Chiwetel Ejiofor was in mind to star. Ignoring the Franz Oberhauser from Bond childhood angle, Mr. Hinks was replaced with a Black Ops CIA agent called Charlotte. There was a mole in MI6, and M is a traitor. Thanks and live long and prosper. Yeah, they develop these scripts. You never know. You hope for the best. But, yeah. Ooh, here's a letter I'm going to save for whining about movies. I will save that one. So this letter is Brian Eng writes in and says, I'm freaked out by your dedication plaque. Joe sent it to you months ago. How did he know Jordy wouldn't be a moderator when you finally opened it? Did he predict the future? Is he a time traveler? You know what, Brian? I'm going to lie. You know what? Well, with his knowledge of science fiction, I wouldn't doubt it. Let's just say that our man Joe is, in fact, he is a time traveler. I want to believe that. I'm going to believe that. Yeah. Yep. Joe Weiss, time traveler. I like it. Just like Gus Grissom, Star Voyager. I like that. I think it's good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'm going to go do an interview that I'm going to bring you, not today, but later. I still have, for those of you who asked, the Bill Sienkiewicz interview is just long, and I'm still dealing with that, but that will be up. It's 2 hours long, and it's fantastic. That will be the last of the 5 interviews that I have done that need to go up. The other 4 are up, so check those out. They're great interviews. So, yeah. So that is it. So I will bring an end to episode number 403 of Robservations, the show about something. I want to thank everybody, all of you imagination connoisseurs, all of you who support this channel the Post-Geek Singularity. Thank you so much. It's been a big week for this show. Big week. And for those of you, I'll say it one more time, I'm running the Bar 9.1, the JBL Bar 9.1 Dolby Atmos, the first soundbar they've done with Dolby Atmos in it. It is almost $1,000 retail priced piece of equipment. We're giving it away. If you've not entered, all you have to do is go into the description, just scroll down. You'll see you can enter the actual sweepstakes. We're just giving this sucker away. We're just giving it away. Thank you to the Experiential Engagement Department at Harman International, JBL, and thank you, Connie. Connie is a girl I've never met, but I've fallen madly in love with, because she has certainly hooked me up with the good stuff and made this promotion possible. So give it up for Connie, and give it up to the Experiential Engagement Department at Harman International. And I would say that I hope her superiors know that she deserves a raise, because she made this possible for the 400th episode of Robservations, and I will be making the drawing on my birthday. But all you have to do is put in your email and go through the portal. And hey, so I'd like you to like and subscribe on YouTube, but you don't have to do that. Just go through and go anywhere, and it would be great. And the more people, I think we have 5,000 entries so far, so that's pretty dope, and I'm happy about that. But anyway, so I want to thank the moderating staff, of course, here. I want to thank Mike Bodden. I want to thank Detective Jim Boyers. I hope that his wife Heidi, who was in a altercation with a car, she was in a car accident, is okay. So send thoughts out, good thoughts out their direction. Of course, Greg Smith, and of course, Lewis Yu. So absolutely. And that would be great. And I think the Richard is going to come in as a new moderator. I notice he's around. And remember, if you like this shirt, you can go to the Richard. You can go to Facebook /The Richard's Art, or djthe13@gmail.com. So there you go. And I will be on, of course, tomorrow, and we will be doing Whining About Movies. We will be wrapping up 2 weeks of Viewer's Choice with the doubleheader, Zardoz and The Long Kiss Goodnight. Wow. 2 disparate movies. Crazy. Thanks to you guys. Well, anyway, I'm bringing an end to this show. And remember, every person you meet has a story to tell you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, I bring Robservations episode number 403 to a close. My God, it's May 1st, May Day. Amazing. Stay safe. Stay sequestered or not if you live in Texas, but just stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm still here. That was a bad... See, that was a bad outro. I screwed that up. As always, have a better day.